And we're live. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Trelleborg Medical Solutions, we're very happy to welcome you all to our Integrated Solutions webinar. Today, we're going to talk about how to accelerate speed to market in medical device contract manufacturing. What does it mean? That's exactly what we're going to address today. But before that, I'd like to introduce myself. So I'm Camilla. I'm going to be your co-host for today, and I'm joined by Dale Gildemeister, our product manager. Hi, Dale.
Hello, Camilla, and thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. I'd like to start out with a quick introduction for myself. I'm Dale Gildemeister, again, product manager for Integrated Solutions, plastic injection molding and silicone injection molding here at Trelleborg Medical Solutions. I've been with the company for 15 years and in the industry for 37 years. Process engineer, manufacturing engineer, project manager, and now, of course, product manager.
Perfect. Thank you, Dale. So what can we expect from today's webinar? First of all, we're going to touch on what is integrated solutions and why it matters. Then we're going to show you how we go from concept to commercialization. Then we're going to continue with our capabilities and what we can deliver through our integrated solutions. Then we're going to have a look at our applications. And to top it off, we are going to have a highlight, or the highlight of the webinar is our case study. Before we dive into all of these topics, I'd like to let you know that this is an interactive webinar, meaning that you can ask your questions, and actually please do ask your questions. We're going to address them at the end of the presentation. And lastly, this is a recorded webinar. That means that you're going to receive the link to the recording in a few days so you can rewatch it. So now, Dale, the floor is yours, and I'll see you at the end.
All right, again, thank you, Camilla. Let's just get started here, and excuse me while I move through the slides. So first of all, integrated solutions, what is it exactly? If you were to ask most companies what they do, they would say contract manufacturing. For us, it extends beyond that. Now, historically, Trelleborg Medical Solutions has been more of a component supplier, and honestly, most customers in the past have been looking for component suppliers so that they can take individual components, bring them in-house, add the value, and do all the work themselves. Obviously that creates some issues. It stresses the customer's purchasing and engineering teams and their manufacturing capabilities. So we're seeing a migration away from that component manufacturing toward value-added services. So your typical contract manufacturer is going to say, we will take those parts, we will manufacture them or purchase them, we'll put them together, and we'll deliver you the full turnkey solution. We look at it a little bit differently. So we don't just think of ourselves as a contract manufacturer, we think of ourselves as a solutions provider. So what we do is we look at it internally and think, what can we offer the customer beyond the component manufacturing? And honestly, we have capabilities that extend beyond molding and assembly and extrusion and everything else, which I will touch on later. But we offer more of the upfront work. As a component manufacturer, we would just be supplying you parts to print. We want to be involved earlier and actually assisting with the design and helping to understand how the device works and making sure that it's going to be reliable and consistent. So internally, looking at the unified product lifecycle, beyond just the manufacturing, we look at the design, understand how something has to be developed, at the same time, keeping an eye on the quality control aspects of it. So as we're doing prototyping, for instance, understand how does this work? How are we going to test it? How are we going to be sure that what we're producing for our customers is going to work the way it's intended without failure? Streamlined communication internally is very important. When you're working with multiple suppliers and they're each producing components and maybe pulling them all together at one facility or another, there is usually a communication breakdown. There's not a lot of understanding of what the other facility or the other supplier may be doing. And if we're doing it internally, those teams working on the individual components and the assembly are usually communicating very, very well. So we're working through issues up front, not waiting until we're at the finish line with validations and then finding the issues that have to be corrected. And also that ties into the customer collaboration aspect. So we work closely with our customers during that development work to make sure that as we're seeing issues, that's being clearly communicated up front. And as long as we don't have a design lock, we can start making changes and reacting to those before we go into a production environment. And then integrated services. Again, it's not just our manufacturing capabilities. We've got much, much more than that to offer. And you're going to hear me talk about this throughout. The design and development work up front and that ability to prototype is really crucial to making sure that we're successful later on. So those services that we have internally that support our teams include tool making ability. We have internal tool making throughout the organization globally, prototyping ability, and automation teams that help us scale things up for our customers. So as we go from, let's say, making 10 units to making hundreds of thousands or millions, we have to understand what we need to do in those initial phases so that we are able to scale up. Nothing worse than having a successful product that can't be made to scale. And then, of course, we've got that quality support to make sure that all of these things that we're doing are being done in a way that's documented and the customers are fully aware of what we're doing. And all that minimizes the risk. For our customers, what does that mean? So reduce complexity in the design and the manufacturing process. If we have a good picture of the overall design, how everything goes together, how it's supposed to function, in a lot of cases, we are able to assist our customers with simplifying the overall design, making a more robust manufacturing process. But that has to be a collaborative effort. That's not something we can just do in a black box. So risk mitigation is also important. It's not just the design risk. We want to make sure that we can effectively produce something, but we still have to purchase raw materials, and we have to work with other companies. So we want to make sure that we're partnering with the right suppliers, because if we are relying on outside sources for raw materials and whatnot, we still have to make sure that those suppliers are going to be able to be reliable for us. Honestly, when everything is produced internally with those raw materials, we really, really reduce the risk of disruptions that may be caused by manufacturing. Cost efficiency, and a little explanation of what that means. If we are producing internally 75, 90% of the goods that are being assembled, we are responsible for maintaining those costs. Everyone likes to say quality is paramount, quality is a given, and it absolutely is, but it's also very important for our customers to control costs. So the more value add that we're doing, the more opportunities we have to keep that overall cost down and keep it stable for our customers. And then, of course, again, that collaboration that we talked about. As we're going through these prototype activities, we like to make sure that our customers are fully in the loop, helping us make decisions as we go through. And knowing how a device is put together means that we're not just focusing on the components, but actually how it works once it's assembled, and making changes that the customers are happy with. And at the end of the day, once those changes are made, they have ownership of them. So we want to look at ourselves as a part of your project team, an extension of your company. As a partner, we're not just manufacturing for you. We're making sure that what we're going to deliver is the best product that you're going to get. So beyond contract manufacturing, we're looking at the product again. If you have a device that you say needs to do this, and we look at it and we see that there may be some potential changes that are going to help you based on our experience, we're going to offer that. And what we like to do is make sure that once we've offered that, we can prove it to you through prototypes, our expertise integration. We have deep application knowledge across many, many processes. It's the manufacturing, extrusion, molding, compression molding, machining, assembly, sheeted materials, testing, all that we can leverage. And then, of course, our capabilities internally to make sure that we can prove those out. The tooling, the automation, the material sciences, all of that stuff is really important for our customers, and it's offered. Value-driven solutions, doing an appraisal of the product itself, and understanding where we can improve the assembly process really adds the reliability and keeps those costs under control. If we're able to consolidate operations at a work center, for instance, we can do inspection on the spot, a real-time inspection, and we can also make sure that any errant processes are controlled immediately. Supply chain simplification means that end-to-end management, from order placement all the way through the development and into serial production, takes the customer's decision-making process out of the equation. So you're not consistently having to manage all those suppliers. You're managing us and allowing us to do all the stuff internally, so that at the end of the day, you get what you need with minimal effort. And then, of course, the vertical integration activities or advantages. We're talking about the tooling capabilities, the prototyping, and that automation, all working hand to hand to be able to be scalable and make sure that we get the highest quality. Automation isn't strictly for scalability. In a lot of cases, we use this to do difficult processes that we know that an operator may not always be the most reliable method. So that helps. And then, of course, single point of contact for our customers, so that rather than working with a lot of different suppliers to pull everything together, you're working with one person, one team, and fully accountable. So what is Trelleborg? We are a global organization. We have medical solutions facilities globally. In today's environment, it's very important that we are close to our customers, being very regional. Today's global economy is very uncertain, as we all know. Tariffs, trade wars, things like that. We want to make sure that we're minimizing those risks for our customers. So we have manufacturing facilities globally. We also have what we call our innovation centers globally. And those innovation centers are really meant to help our customers develop their product, utilize our engineering resources, and do that locally. Having said that, this global reach that we've got also means we've got redundancies everywhere. For risk mitigation, as we know, everything is uncertain. If a facility were to go down or supply chain would break, then we need to make sure that we've got a redundancy built in. And these facilities usually have the same capabilities to some extent. So now I'm going to go into the design and development and what that means. So for us, first of all, we are controlled by one unitary quality management system that controls everything that we do during development and production and quality assurance. But we do have a lot of flexibility when it comes to our prototyping. For us to be nimble, we can't use the same types of quality controls that we would have once we've locked a design and we move through our quality qualification processes. So as we go through product concept, if a customer comes to us early enough where they do not have a design that's locked, there's a lot of flexibility there for us to assist. We can engineer higher quality into the parts and the assemblies, and even in the packaging and labeling processes if we're introduced to the project early enough. And feasibility. So I guess the best way for me to put this is anything can be prototyped. It really can. With enough money and enough time, we could produce 10 of anything. That's typically not what a customer is asking for. They want something that can be scaled up to, say, in some cases, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of thousands or millions of components and assemblies. Not every device can be scaled up to that effect, to those numbers. So we want to look at it up front and say, if you really need that and you need it to be cost effective, what can we do to help? And we may look at ways to streamline the manufacturing process, maybe combining components, maybe doing value-added work at a work center so that we have that ability to scale up. We may want to automate. And if we can automate, we have to look to see how much is that of an investment is that going to take, and what kind of a return on investment is that going to be for our customers. So once we've gone through that feasibility study, we can recommend some changes. And then what we want our customers to do is assess those changes to see if they're feasible or they can actually perform. So that brings us to prototyping. We have prototype houses within Trelleborg Medical Solutions, including our Rapid Development Center. So once we've decided that a design looks as though it can be manufactured, it can be scaled up, and some of the changes have been made, the customer's uncertain of, the first thing we want to do is make sure that our customer has an opportunity to test product that would be manufactured exactly the same way it would be in production. So if we're going to be building a prototype for our customer, we want to do it the same way a production tool and a tooling or a production assembly would work, right? Because again, we could prototype anything. That doesn't necessarily mean that most places that prototype would prototype the same way that it would be done in production. We don't do it that way. So we would deliver something to you that would be equivalent to a production process, let you test it, and then we go through that iterative process. If there may be some changes, maybe the material's not right, maybe the geometry needs to change, maybe some of the dimensions that were put on the initial drawings weren't exactly what's required. We can make those adjustments then. Making sure we've got good fitment for everything as it goes together in the assemblies is also important. But that all gets tested out and proven through the prototyping phase. And then once we've got that locked in, customer's happy. At that point, this is the opportunity to lock the design and then start tooling up for production. Now, a lot of customers want to skip those first three items, right? The product concept review, the feasibility, and the prototyping, and go right into tool design and production. Honestly, in most cases, it works. In a lot of cases, it also can be a catastrophe. If you design a part and you've decided that's exactly the way it needs to work, it's really difficult once we do a tool for production to circle back, unlock that design, do another submission, and get it back into production again. Then, of course, once we've got that tool design that functions according to our prototypes, we move into manufacturing. Our manufacturing facilities globally are world-class, very capable of bringing all the components that we make throughout our facilities together and giving you a turnkey device. Let's talk about consolidation of capabilities. So I talked a little bit about prototyping and development work. let's talk a little bit about what Trelleborg can do internally for capabilities right now on the manufacturing processes. So we do some very, very small engineered molded components out of silicone, out of thermoplastics. We do larger plastic parts, larger silicone parts, high cavitation, low cavitation, very intricate. There really is very little limit to what we can do with silicone, and very little that we don't do with thermoplastics. A lot of engineered materials. We're very capable and very knowledgeable on those thermoplastic materials as well as the silicones. Also our synthetic rubbers, where we're doing our own material sciences in-house. We develop those materials for the application, and in most cases exceeding the performance of the what I'd call off-the-shelf materials. We do drug-eluting and combination products. We call those active pharmaceutical ingredients. Those are materials that we engineer methods to get the drugs or the hormone or whatever it may be into the polymer matrix for the application. Not every type of additive will work with every process, but we have ways to engineer that. Extrusion, we've got multiple facilities that do extrusions, and it's not just simple ID or internal diameter or outside diameter or profiles. We are doing secondary operations like skiving, for instance, cut to length with precision. We have what we call geotrans, which is a very interesting technology, and co-extrusion, kink-resistant tubing, reinforced tubing, a lot of different offerings there. Dipping and coating, we have methods for coating components with silicone dispersions. Secondary operations, that's a very long list of things that we do. Bonding, ultrasonic welding, assembly, of course, pad printing, laser engraving. We also, I would consider some of those secondary processes to be testing. So we can test in line to make sure that a device is functioning the way it needs to. Precision machining. We have Swiss machines, other methods for machining metals. Silicone sheeting, that could be calendared materials or thin knife-coated materials. And then, of course, integrated solutions and finished medical devices. An integrated solution doesn't necessarily have to be what we call a finished medical device. It could be a sub-assembly. A finished medical device for us, we would call something that's packaged and labeled and ready for sterilization, which we have the capability of doing. But integrated solutions is much broader than that. It would include doing some of the sub-assembly work, similar to what you may be seeing on the screen here, plastic components with silicone valves and assembled and tested and ready to ship. Some of the markets that we're supporting right now, pharma, biotech. That's one of our internal campaigns, and we actually do quite a bit of assistance with customers designing products for the pharmaceutical industry. Orthopedics. We do a fair amount of work with orthopedics, including bioabsorbable polymers, thermoplastics. It could be instrumentation, surgical equipment. We may be purchasing PCBs and overmolding and putting it all together, or even supplying value-added components. Cardiology, polyurethane, silicone leads, that type of thing. Of course, we talked about the active pharmaceuticals, drug delivery. We do a lot of work for diabetes. Obviously, that's some very, very high volume work. Lab equipment, ophthalmology, urology, typically a lot of extrusions for urology, and a lot of clear product for ophthalmology, and nutrition, more of a, I would say, higher volume commodity type issues. But what you're seeing there is just a small fraction of what we support. So I wouldn't limit the industries that we support or the markets that we support just to this list. It's far, far more than that. And again, very global. Certain areas of the world are more interested in other things than this. So definitely don't limit yourselves to what you see in front of you. So this is just another little bit of an overview of what we do, the in-house development, uh, those dedicated innovation centers that are global. Some of the things that those innovation centers will offer to our customers, maybe FEA, finite element analysis. So if you've got a design that we've asked for a change and you're not sure if it's going to work and you don't want to spend the money on the prototypes without having more assurances, we can do an FEA to test that and see if virtually it looks like we're in the right direction, and then go into the prototypes. We certainly wouldn't expect our customers to fund activities that they don't feel comfortable with. Design for manufacturing, and I think that this is something that every one of your suppliers is probably offering already, but we do go a step beyond that. And it's not just the design for manufacturing, but it's the design for performance. Mold fill simulations, we don't want to build a tool. I'd say in most cases, we have a very good understanding of how a mold is going to fill during the injection molding process. We know how extrusions are going to work, but there are cases where it's a little uncertain, so we have mold fill simulation capabilities. And then our material sciences lab, I wish I touched on that a little bit better than I had. Again, for certain applications, materials that are selected are a compromise. And if a compromise isn't what you're looking for, we can develop a material for some of those synthetic rubbers that will actually outperform the off-the-shelf materials. And we do the formulations in-house, we test them in-house, and we do the production of those materials in-house. Then we have the in-house tool design and fabrication globally. Having that close to our manufacturing facilities is important for us to be able to do rapid iterations, corrections to tools, or to build more tools for higher capacity. And then speaking of capacity, the automation teams that we have internally and the fabrication teams help make sure that we can scale up production to support our customers' requirements. So our qualification standards are world-class. Again, in most cases, our qualification standards are going to exceed our customers' requirements. Multi-layer sourcing, that's managing everything from the raw materials to subcomponents to basically everything through the entire supply chain. Quality control, supplier management. We have SQEs. We have a sourcing team that makes sure that we're working with the best suppliers that are available to us and that we have a track record with. ERP and MRP system, but with knowing what each facility is doing is important. So we are making sure that all of our ERP and MRP systems globally are connected and communicate effectively. So as we're building our supply chain internally, we're making sure that we have good visibility of what orders are in place and the status of those so that we have excellent on-time delivery. And then, of course, we want to be that single source. Let's talk a little bit about a case study. This is something that actually happened, and it really drives home the point of why it's so important to have that early engagement and the benefits of having manufacturing under one roof. So the challenge here, when we had a very large customer of ours that came to us early on. They had not locked their design. This is the right time to approach Trelleborg. So what they had was a hemostasis valve. And if you are familiar with hemostasis valves, you know that the requirement is you need to press something through that hemostasis valve. It's a flexible silicone seal, typically slit. And there are competing requirements. It has to seal around whatever you're putting through it. And at the same time, you have to have minimal force. So it can't take a lot of resistance to push this through the hemostasis valve. Those two competing requirements make it very, very difficult to engineer a solution. So with this customer, we prototyped multiple configurations of the part geometry, multiple configurations of the slit geometry, and multiple materials. So it's a fairly large matrix of possible outcomes. But at the end of it, it was a problem solved. The customer ended up with a very good design. They're very happy with it. We were going to produce this component and ship it to another contract manufacturer. So at this time, we thought we have our part of it completed. We are ready to validate. We are now going into tooling for production, and we need to validate that. And we did validate it. Everything was successful, about as smooth as it could go until the issue arose. So after that validation, we shipped parts to our other supplier, or the customer's other supplier, because we were a lower tier supply at that point. That supplier apparently found an issue with the entire assembly. So our customer said, it looks like we're going to be probably putting this on the shelf for maybe 8 months. And during that 8 months, we really didn't know what the issue was. As it turned out, the parts that were being produced at the other supplier and then being assembled with the components that we were supplying, they weren't going together right. So that other supplier recommended new tooling and a revalidation. Didn't affect Trelleborg. What we made was still good. That customer, at the end of the day, lost 12 months of production and $130,000 apparently in tooling and validation costs. That's pretty substantial. It really doesn't capture everything that was lost, though, does it? I mean, 12 months of not having production means that's 12 months of not having a product. That's 12 months of lost revenue. That's 12 months of that customer's engineering team was tied up with this project and not able to move on to another one for a simple issue that probably could have cost $5,000 for us to fix at Trelleborg. Honestly, if we had been able to see that entire assembly up front and really had an opportunity to vet out the design and say, we see some potential issues here, and maybe we need to assess that before we go into production, this would have been the right time to do it. So we did eventually get into production. Again, the customer lost all that time. I think the lesson learned here was we really had an opportunity, and it was a lost opportunity to help our customer really save that time and that effort. You would think that those extra prototyping activities were just probably cost that could have been avoided. In this case, it would have saved that customer a very large sum of money and a very big amount of time as well. So there we have it. A simple $5,000 fix and a revalidation instead cost that customer $130,000 worth of lost actual cost. We have a couple testimonials. Obviously, we're more than just a manufacturer, but we do help with design. The biopharma industry is a little different than the medical device industry, but we do actually have our own IP for that market. And when our customers utilize that, they can see real increases in their market share. A lot of customers have a product that's already developed. They want to move it in-house or move it to another supplier. We have a lot more to offer than just being able to manufacture. In this case, this testimonial shows that this customer was going from 75% rejects down to 1 or 2%. That upfront work that we do on developing the process and our quality standards demand more of that 1 to 2% range than what you're seeing with the 75% fallout. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Camilla. Camilla, please.
Okay, you.
There we go. So thank you so much, Dale. That was really insightful. And I think we touched on a few really important points. So starting from why is important to involve us really early. Then we looked at how we can deliver value. So, what kind of through our capabilities and what we can deliver. So, we can touch on finished medical devices, we can deliver sub-assembly work and more. So that was also really important, and I found it really insightful. Then we had a look at, our in-house developments, design services, our in-house tool designs, and how they can help to, speed or increase the speed to market, but ultimately how we go beyond. So, the design for performance. So that's our focus and what we can deliver. So really, thank you so much. And also, that we topped it off with, an example, a case study that was really good. So thank you so much, Dale. So now it's time to look at our questions. So we have a bunch. Let's start from the first one. So the first one asks, besides performance testing at the prototype phase, what testing will you typically do once in production?
Yeah, most of the time we're going to replicate that performance testing that we've done at the development phase, because we want to make sure that we're maintaining that performance in the production environment. But a lot of times we're going to tailor any of the testing that we do based on our customer's design FMEA, right? We need to know where your potential failures are, where you see those, so that we've addressed those early. And we don't want to just do that testing once something is fully assembled, but we want to be able to test as a phased approach through that manufacturing process, so that every critical process in that assembly is tested and ready to be taken to the next step. A lot of that can also be done if we feel it's low risk at the final inspection stage. So I guess the short answer is we will tailor that inspection to our customers' requirements. We don't take full responsibility for performance of a device. We take full responsibility making sure that we've helped optimize that, and we've got validated processes, and the customer owns the final design. We don't own that, but we do everything we can to ensure that our processes are going to yield the optimal outcome.
Perfect, thank you. Let's look at the next one. So the next one asks, you do sterile bare packaging with labeling. Do you sterilize too?
We do not. So we partner with sterilization facilities. We will get everything ready for sterilization. If it's ETO or gamma or E-beam or plasma, whatever it may be, we will work with our customers' partner facilities to get sterilization completed. We will manage the paperwork, but at the end of the day, we don't own the process. That is our customer.
Okay. The next one asks, is Trelleborg willing to do prototypes even if the design is locked before it's sent out for a quote?
Yes. If the design is locked and we prototype, I think that the issue there would be if you find that there's a failure in the prototype, what do? You have your design frozen already, and you have to go back to unfreezing it and all of those internal approval processes that you need to do. So certainly, we'll prototype whatever the customer wants, and we learn from those prototypes. By the way, we don't just prototype for our customers. We understand how to manufacture, and it gives us a more solid basis for jumping into that next step of manufacturing. But if there is a failure from those prototypes, it's inconvenient for the customers because they have to go back and unlock that design, go through the design iterations, and it ends up being a little bit of lost time and aggravation for the customer.
Okay, thank you, Dale. So I have one last question for you now. What would you like for our attendees to take home with them from the presentation, what we've seen today?
Yeah, I think that the point that I was trying to make most clear was that early engagement and how important it is. There have been a lot of success stories where we've been able to talk with our customers, understand how their device works, telling them what kind of value we can add to that. And also, customers may not always know everything that Trelleborg Medical Solutions can do.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're able to tell you that up front, you may find that you're going to get more value out of us being able to add some of those operations. But that
Mm-hmm.
early prototyping and the early design work pays benefits in almost every case. So um, there are a lot of contract manufacturers out there, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of manufacturers that have those capabilities. We have that, and we have the design and prototype capability that really makes the difference for our customers.
Mm-hmm. So we could say that, they can just like come to us and, ask us those questions, and like, we can sit down together and discuss, and, they're more than welcome to do so. And, because of the breadth of capabilities and, expertise that we have and our team has, we're more than equipped to support them with their needs, right?
Yes, yes. We've got a lot of expertise in injection molding of silicone and thermoplastics. Those people understand the materials as well as anybody in the industry. We have experts in bonding,
Mm-hmm.
assembly,
Mm-hmm.
packaging. We've got packaging engineers that know how to validate a process. We've got extrusion engineers that are creating processes that don't exist anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that really customers need to understand um, that early engagement really does pay off. It's
Absolutely.
just, mhm.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's the end for today. Dale, if we can have a look at the next slide, please.
Yeah,
So if you have any more questions, please feel free to scan the QR code or copy paste here the email address. So, with any other inquiry that you might have or question, we're open. So please feel free to reach out to us. And Dale,
yeah.
you,
I also,
you also mentioned they can also reach out to LinkedIn, right? If
yeah,
needed.
yeah. Right. I think the best way you're going to get support is if you use this QR code, reach out to Trelleborg that way. Our sales engineers would review this and make sure that you get responded to immediately. If that isn't something that you want to do, please don't hesitate to reach out to me through LinkedIn. I can respond through that. But again, I'll try to make those connections for you so that you can work with our sales engineers and they will connect you with our innovation center or myself or our estimating team.
Absolutely. We're here for you. So, very good. Thank you so much. So we've come to the end of our webinar, and we would like to thank you for joining us today. We hope that it was insightful and it's opened up the conversation, or, that you have many more questions to ask us. So again, feel free to reach out to us. So thank you from my side on behalf of Trelleborg Medical Solutions for joining us. And we're very happy that you were with us today, right, Dale?
Yes, thank you very much for attending and carving out some time in your day. I do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye bye.